Good evening, everyone. This is the Air Conservation Commission meeting. It is Thursday, December 16th, 2021. Due to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, in accordance with Chapter 20 of the Act of 2021, suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, public bodies otherwise governed by the OML are temporarily relieved from the requirement that meetings be held in public places, open and physically accessible to the public, so long as measures are taken to ensure public access to the body's deliberations through adequate alternative means. This meeting will be live on Zoom. The public may participate remotely by joining Zoom, and the meeting ID number is 840-4058-0886, or by calling 929-205-6099. For additional information about remote participation, please contact Joanne Christoph, Conservation Agent, at jcrystoff@ayer.ma.us or 978-772-8220, extension 143 prior to the meeting. So if anyone was paying attention, you can let me know if I got all those numbers right or if I transposed them again. I think I got it right. I'll take that as a yes.
Okay.
Do we, this evening, we have commissioners in attendance. We have Jeremiah as a member, we have George Bacon as a member, we have Jessica Gino as a member clerk, we have Mark Phillips as vice chair, myself, John Schmallenberger, as chair, and our conservation agent, Joanne Christoph, is not with us this evening. Do we have confirmation of agenda?
The only thing I'd like to suggest is just a very, very brief mention that the certificate of vote that we passed at our last meeting is not tenable, so we'll have to arrange for people to come in and sign any permits we issue tonight and going forward. We can figure out that detail later on in the meeting, but just to say that anything we vote on ahead of time is, we'll need all of our signatures.
Physical signatures.
Yeah.
All right.
Otherwise, the agenda is good as it is. So.
Motion to accept the agenda as amended.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. It was moved by George Bacon, seconded by Mark Phillips. Jen, how do you vote?
Aye.
George, how do you vote?
Aye.
Jess, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mark, how do you vote?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. It passes unanimously. Do we have approval of the meeting minutes for December 2nd, 2021? Any comments, changes, corrections, accolades? None? Okay. Then is there a motion to approve the meeting minutes for December 2nd, 2021 as written?
So moved.
Seconded.
It was
Second.
moved by George Bacon. It was seconded by Jeremiah. And we will do a roll call. Jen, how do you vote?
Aye.
George, how do you vote?
Aye.
Jess, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mark, how do you vote?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. We are going to ask at this point in time if there is any public input from anyone who is listening or viewing.
Hi, I'm Rachel. Am I supposed to say something or just like observe and then comment? I've never attended one of these meetings, so I'm not quite sure.
If you, well, welcome, first off. And if you don't have anything specific to comment on right now, then I would probably suggest that you listen and observe, and if you have questions later on, you can certainly pose them then.
Got you. And so as far as like the public and on the record questions, or I'm just trying to think, like Just so that way I'm aware, is it okay if I ask questions later? That'll be, in the minutes and can be reviewed at a later date?
Yeah, you'll give your name, your address, and that'll be in the minutes. And yeah, certainly can ask your questions.
Lovely. Thanks so much.
You're welcome. Any other? Okay. Then the first item this evening is a public hearing continued. Notice of intent is 0 Washington Street, Panther Place, the OSRD subdivision. It is, we are going to, this is under, we're going to open these under the Mass,
Wetlands Protection Act.
exactly, the Wetlands Protection Act and the Ayer Wetlands Bylaw. All right, so we're going to start with lot 17. Is DEP file number 100-0472. And does anyone have any comments about the orders before we get going?
But I actually didn't circulate those. They're identical to the other ones with just,
Yep.
Changes in the order number and just changes in the distance to the limit of work to the wetlands, which is usually within 10 feet of each other. So
Yep.
Brian Butler, I do see from Oxbow is on here, or from Dillis and Roy, right, Brian? He's on just in case we had any questions. but-
Okay, all righty. So we'll just assume that since we were happy with the old orders or the other orders, we'll be happy with these. Is there a motion to issue and approve the orders of the conditions on lot 17, DEP file number 100-0472?
Can you actually explain the details that were discussed in previous meetings, please, regarding this particular lot?
You want us to read the entire orders?
If it pertains to like biological and ecological situations that are,
Who is speaking?
my name is Rachel Kozera. I'm a resident of Ayer. Yeah, I think, and I'm just trying to kind of wrap my head around like any testing or any sort of particular wetlands that are going to be affected by, this new development. I've corresponded with a few different people, which have actually made me more concerned about this meeting this evening. And usually I'm, in the background, not really talking, like just want to live my life. But I feel like I need a little bit more information regarding this and any particular bylaws that were bypassed because of, I don't know if there were additional studies or if there were, I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not sure how to describe, what I'm trying to ask, but I just want to make sure the proper protocol was followed regarding this development. And if there's any information that might be critical for future situations which might arise from this particular development or, any sort of construction or modification of the town of Ayer that's being discussed within this meeting.
That was, I'm sorry, for me, it was a fairly confusing question. I don't know how to answer that. We've looked at this project now for, I don't even know how long, a year, and have gone over everything with a fine-tooth comb as far as conforming to the Wetland Protection Act. I guess, do you have a specific question?
Could I make a
Sure.
comment, John?
Yeah,
Have
go
there
ahead.
been, oh,
No.
sorry, go ahead.
Let Jess Go ahead, Jess.
Just a quick comment. Before we passed our local bylaw, developers would have been allowed to propose development within the entire buffer zone. And because we passed the local bylaw and a regulation that said previously undisturbed land within the first 50-foot buffer zone, the inner 50-foot of a 100-foot buffer zone cannot be developed unless you get a waiver from us. Because of that, for this whole particular development, the developer stayed completely outside of the 50-foot buffer zone. So nothing was bypassed there. Actually, we were able to provide stronger protection for the buffer zone because of that.
I guess my question is, has there been any discussion to the effect of guaranteed parameters surrounding the construction site, if there's any biological hazards that are going to be expelled from that particular installation, and any subcontractor, sorry, that's not the proper terminology, any sort of additional developments or sorry. I'm just trying to wrap my head around. So has there been any like local testing regarding the effects that this development will have on the surrounding area as far as traffic, the environmental impact, how many trees are going to get cut down, what chemicals or building materials will these people be using? Although there's a 50-foot or 100-foot buffer, as far as my scientific education goes, groundwater is groundwater. So it's eventually going to end up, in our ponds. And considering that we do have some water difficulties currently, how is that going to impact the livelihood of the citizens of Ayer and the future generations that do habitate here?
I think all precautions have been taken as to eliminate that sort of future dangers. Don't have a crystal ball. Certainly can't know everything.
I wasn't asking for a guess. I was asking if there were scientists or individuals that were part of this project that did a study or hired a consultant to understand how traffic and environmental issues were going to be altered, and how the individuals in that area are going to be affected by this place. And considering that the individual who is proposing this is not on the call this evening, and I do feel badly that his parent has passed away, it's also very important for my livelihood. So as far as I'm concerned, I haven't seen any documents guaranteeing the biological safety of any of the town people of Ayer. I asked for just straight documents, what's going on, what was studied, what's being developed here, and I did not receive anything. And there was nothing on the Ayer website that kind of put my mind at ease. So I just want to make sure that the people who are kind of the gatekeepers for different procedures like this or different interactions are, I know that you do a lot, and I'm sure you've had to do a lot of things before this meeting, but I guess I just want to be at peace with understanding the entirety of, something like this, because obviously Ayer is a wonderful town and a lot of folks want to live here, but also there's a lot of things that can go wrong, which we've seen as far as the water quality. Who were the gatekeepers that were protecting the folks from PFAs when that was an issue? And were there people who were saying that, but then didn't get recognized? So I think My intent is just to make sure that all the cards are on the table, all of the documents are accessible to everyone, and that even though I didn't get through the 172 pages of the bylaws of the air zoning laws, that somebody is there who is reviewing them and making sure that we're abiding by, the important things that, just keep our town safe. I don't want to be a bother, but at the same time, I
No.
want to make sure that, everybody is on the same page, so to speak.
Yeah, Brian,
Chairman, could I,
yeah, would you
uh,
please comment on this?
certainly, I'm Brian Butler, Oxbow Associates. We filed the notice of intent on behalf of Northeast Site Development. And as Mr. Chairman said, that this has been under review for at least 18 months by both the CONSCOM and the planning board in town. It's gotten a tremendous degree of scrutiny. There was a conservation assessment submitted to this commission preceding to the notices being filed.
And
Probably
who
about a
did
year
the,
ago.
the conservation assessment? Was that a consultant, or was that somebody who worked for the state of Massachusetts, or like the sources?
Yes, it's likely invariably going to be consultants that do that sort of thing. And in this case, it was us, Oxbow Associates. That was submitted, reviewed, and vetted by the commission for compliance with the bylaw requirements for that document. And that was over a year ago, I think that was all resolved.
And who was it submitted to?
Conservation Commission.
The individual?
It was submitted as a conventional submittal to this board. It was probably during COVID, so it wasn't, the standard hard copy perhaps, but it was, distributed. It's in the record for the subdivision plan. This underwent an ANRAD initially, abbreviated notification of resource area delineation, and it was peer reviewed by a consultant chosen by the Air Conservation Commission to look out for their interests, independent of the applicant's interest. There was, I think, one or two minor change flag amendments of less than 5 or 8 feet out of probably 150 flags, wetland boundary flags. So that was resolved. The conservation assessment was submitted for the property. We went through natural heritage review. We filed a MESA checklist and habitat assessment with the Natural Heritage and Endangered Species Program. They reviewed that for compliance with the performance standards of Mass Endangered Species Act. Part of the project involves about greater than 50% of the property is going to be placed into conservation restriction voluntarily on the part of the applicant. It wasn't demanded by Natural Heritage. It wasn't demanded by this by the commission here either. It was just a sensible development could be made, and still a good portion of the landscape could be preserved in perpetuity. And that's what Mr. Levine did.
Pardon me, sir, I apologize. Are there any parameters restricting conflict of interest regarding hiring consultants or interrelations about consultants? Just because I know, towns and, friends help friends and different things like that. Are there any checks and balances regarding consultants and the folks that they hire to make these studies, or is that just up to the individual who proposes the project?
That there are ethics standard regulations of the Commonwealth for ethics, which if you are a peer reviewer if you're a special environmental or special municipal employee, which doing work, there's some prohibitions on working on both sides of the fence. Now we don't have that conflict here. And again, a peer reviewer to review the wetlands independently was engaged paid for by the applicant, but for the benefit of the Conservation Commission. He's a gentleman from, I think, Rhode Island, so he really has no dog in the fight in or somewhere southeastern Mass.
But so you would agree that that individual from Rhode Island was somebody who the individual who's making the project hired to make these conclusions regarding the land that that we're building on and doing whatever we need to do.
He reported to the Conservation Commission, so it was, the commission doesn't have to fund it independently. I believe the applicant typically, and this is getting a little bit down the road here, but Typically, proposals are sought from multiple consultants, and the commission will choose one of those that's qualified and has reasonable economics associated. You don't want to pay $50,000 for a $2,000 review, but it's a fairly standard process in commissions across the Commonwealth. There's provisions in the Wetlands Protection Act and other statutes that allow the commission to engage consultants on their behalf. So it's this has been a fairly standard but extremely well vetted project review. Both, we appreciate the town's efforts. The commission here and the planning board was very engaged in this. And really the bottom line is, does the project meet the performance standards as applicable to the Wetlands Protection Act, as well as in parallel, the Ayer Wetlands Protection Bylaw? And I believe the commission has unanimously voted in the affirmative on that. First on the ANRAD, on the wetland delineation, then on a stormwater management plan that was submitted as a single individual notice of intent, and then 13 individual, well, now we're at the last 4. So there's traffic, aesthetics, other aspects really have no place in the wetlands review. Those are different municipal boards. But this has been vetted, as I said, I think quite thoroughly. There's nothing within 50 feet of a wetland, any kind of activity closer than 50 feet of any of the wetlands on site, which is well above and beyond the requirements of the state Act 131, Section 40. And it's in full compliance with the current performance standards under the bylaw. So at this point, I don't think there's a lot of there's a fairly dense administrative record that is there, but I don't believe there's a lot of gaps in the knowledge the commission hasn't requested any additional materials, I think, because we've tried to submit everything quite thoroughly and explicitly throughout the process.
Gotcha. All right. Well, thanks so much. I'm just not really familiar with the Wetlands Act, so I'm not sure if it's compliant with like current scientific studies or anything like that. It's just more along the lines of just, I'm not sure who wrote it, but hopefully, it complies with, the
Yeah,
benefit of the residents of Ayer. So thank you very much.
All right. Okay, thank you for your comments and questions. I honestly don't remember.
I think
Or-
you had gotten to motion to approve and issue the order for lot 17. George had moved it, Mark had seconded it, and we hadn't gotten to voting yet.
All righty, thank you very much. Then we'll do a roll call vote. Jen, how do you vote?
Aye.
George, how do you vote?
aye,
Jess, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mark, how do you vote?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Passes unanimously. Is there a motion to close the public hearing on lot number 17, DEP file number 100-0472?
so moved,
Second.
Was moved by George Bacon, seconded by Mark Phillips, and we'll do a roll call again. How do you vote?
Aye.
George, how do you vote?
aye,
Jess, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mark, how do you vote?
Aye.
And chair votes aye. We will now move on to lot number 19, DEP file number 100-0473. Is there a motion to approve, to issue and approve the orders of conditions on lot 19 as written?
so moved,
Second.
Moved by George Bacon, seconded by Mark Phillips. Jen, Amaya, how do you vote?
Aye.
George, how do you vote?
aye,
Jeff, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mark, how do you vote?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, passes unanimously. Is there a motion to close the public hearing On lot 19, DEP file number 100-0473.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by George Bacon, seconded by Mark Phillips. Jen, how do you vote?
Aye.
George, how do you vote?
Aye.
Jess, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mark, how do you vote?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. We will move on now to lot number 20, DEP file number 100-0474. Is there a motion to issue and approve the orders of conditions on lot 20, DEP file number 100-074 as written?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by George Bacon, seconded by Mark Phillips. We will now do a roll call vote. Jen, how do you vote?
Aye.
George, how do you vote?
Aye.
Jess, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mark, how do you vote?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Is there a motion to close the public hearing on lot 20, DEP file number 100-0474?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by George Bacon, seconded by Mark Phillips. Jen, how do you vote?
Aye.
George, how do you vote?
Aye.
Jess, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mark, how do you vote?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, passes unanimously. We will now move on to lot number 21. DEP file number 100-0475. Is there a motion to issue and approve the motion orders of conditions on lot number 21, DEP file number 100-0475 as written?
So moved.
Second.
It's moved by George Bacon, seconded by Mark Phillips. Do a roll call. Jen, how do you vote?
Aye.
George, how do you vote?
Aye.
Jess, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mark, how do you vote?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, passes unanimously. Is there a motion to close the public hearing on lot number 21, DEP file number 100-0475?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by George Bacon, seconded by Mark Phillips. Do a roll call. Jen, how do you vote?
Aye.
George, how do you vote?
Aye.
Jess, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mark, how do you vote?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, passes unanimously. Is Brian still with us?
Yep.
Brian, thank you very much for your participation and your good explanations. That was very helpful.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman, and thanks to all the members for all the time engaged in this, over the last 18 months or so. It's been a long process, but I think a good one. Thank you.
It has been a long process. Yeah, thank you.
Right.
Jess, you have something?
One question.
Yep.
We have to do a new process for signing these things, so it will take us a couple days. Could you, how do you want these received? Do you want us to certify mail them or?
You can, when they're signed, you could just hold on to them, Justin. I can have one of my staff, a couple of people drive past Ayer coming to the office here. So when it's mutually convenient, we'll make sure somebody comes by and grabs them and then they'll get recorded.
So I will email you when they're ready to be picked up.
That'd be great. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brian.
Have a good evening.
Thank you, sir. You too. Okay, our next item this evening is a public hearing, notice of intent, and we will open this public hearing under the Wetlands Protection Act and under the Air Wetland Bylaw. This is my bad. Willow Road and Route 2A, Mass Department of Transportation, Danielle Spicer, Mass DEP file number 100-0477. And good evening.
Good evening.
How are you, Danielle?
Good, very good.
Good, thank you. And you have someone else with you this evening?
I actually have two. I have Tom Bigelow from Green, who's the project manager, and I also have Melissa Lanker from MassDOT. So if there's any questions regarding that. So
Okay.
if it's all right, I was going to have Tom just speak first and kind of give an overall view of the project, and then I will kind of wrap it up talking about some of the environmental impacts that we have. And if it's okay, I will share my screen.
That'd be perfect. Thank you very much.
Can everyone see my screen?
We can, Danielle.
Yes.
Thank you. So I will start, and good evening. My name is Tom Bigelow, as Danielle said. Thank you for your time. So I am the project manager for this project for Green International, and the project is a replacement of the temporary traffic signal at the intersection of Route 2A, Willow Road, and Bruce Street. The intersection itself is in Littleton. And as many of the local residents may be aware, this intersection did have a history of accidents going back a ways, and MassDOT installed the temporary signal that's there today back in 2016. And the goal of this project is to replace that temporary traffic signal with permanent new traffic signal equipment, while also improving the roadway and the intersection for the safety of all users, motorists, bicyclists, and pedestrians. The project's start is about 1,400 feet along Route 2A and starts just west of the Boston Minuteman campground, and extends about 1,400 feet to a point that's 600 feet east of the Chip Shots Pub driveway. It extends 500 feet down Willow Road, just before the Bennett's Brook crossing, and about 300 feet down Bruce Street, just about to the Springbrook Farm driveway. Widening is proposed on both sides of Route 2A. That's to accommodate left turn lanes at the traffic signal itself. Right now, there are no left turn lanes, so that'll provide an increased safety benefit to the motorists. And there are also turn lanes proposed on Willow Road and Bruce Street. Another component of the project is a new shared use path, really two new shared use paths, 8 feet wide on both sides of Route 2A. These will provide both a bicycle and pedestrian accommodation on both sides of the roadway. We are proposing a narrower shoulder than we typically would, a 2-foot shoulder on this project instead of this normal 5-foot shoulder. And that was in an effort to help reduce the impacts of the project and help reduce impervious area overall, since we do have that 8-foot shared use path. The shared use path will also be curbed with new granite curbing. So we are proposing a new closed drainage system to accommodate that curbing, which will also provide proper drainage of the roadway. So if we had the curbing but no new closed drainage system, we would have drainage issues on the roadway. So that's why the replacement of the drainage system is proposed. As far as on Willow Road, there is some widening proposed on Willow Road, but that's mainly at the intersection right along the Ayer and Littleton town line. But as far as what's proposed within the riverfront area that's associated with Bennett's Brook, we are replacing the existing closed drainage system, upgrading the existing outfall. The roadway itself is not getting any wider within the riverfront area. It's mill and overlay of the existing roadway, and a portion of the town's drain pipe will also be replaced within the right-of-way. So that's a basic overview of the proposed project. And Danielle, I guess I'll turn it back over to you to describe more of the pertinent information related to the notice of intent.
Sure, thank you. So as Tom mentioned, while the majority of the roadway improvements are in Littleton, the impacts are in Ayer, so it's a little bit unique. And then I'm going to kind of show you this figure. This was in our notice of intent. This is our resource area figure. So you can see that the dash red line is our limit of work. So we are out, Littleton is completely outside any of the resource areas associated with Bennett's Brook, but you can see, so here's Bennett's Brook that kind of travels to here. There's a wetland system here and then kind of goes up here. So really where we are having the majority of our impacts is right down here, where we've got the downstream side of Bennett's Brook. We have As Tom had mentioned, I think the majority, the impacts basically within the resource areas to Bennett's Brook are borderland subject to flooding, riverfront area, and buffer zones. And I will actually, I think the next figure, I'm going to zoom out just a little bit here. This figure kind of shows really the areas that we're impacting. The borderland subject to flooding is very minimal. It really is just this small little area here to be able to install a flared end section at the exiting of the drain system to help with erosion and velocity dissipation. There is absolutely no filling within the floodplain. It is literally just 58 square feet of just removing material and replacing it with riprap within the 100-year floodplain. So there is no filling, so there is no compensatory that's needed. What we are doing, you can see over here, this is the 100-foot buffer zone. This blue line, or sorry, I guess it's actually purple, is the 100-foot riverfront area. And then this over here is where the 200-foot. So all of this area is within the 200-foot riverfront area. And as Tom had mentioned, the roadway that's within here is mostly mill and overlay, except for this new drainage line that's coming down here. So this outfall right here is really where we are doing work within kind of undisturbed riverfront area. And that's kind of the main impact right here. We looked at this in a couple different ways about how to address this. I mean, obviously there's an existing culvert right here. There is a drainage system over here, but it's a 12-inch pipe. We would not be able to connect into that, and nor would we want to connect into the actual cross culvert, because that would actually result in direct impacts to land underwater as well as wetlands. We did do a stormwater report that is attached to here. And it is showing an increase in peak rates at this downstream component, but we've actually provided additional calculations to demonstrate that this will not have any downstream flooding impacts and actually will not have any change in the base FEMA flood elevation associated with it. So there is a floodway associated with Bennett's Brook, so we are aware of that. So there were additional calculations that were included with that notice of intent. And you may have also, I don't know if you were able to disseminate the, we did get a letter from DEP when we, I think we're first looking to open this. They had a couple clarifying questions, which is why we wanted just a chance to be able to clarify with that to them before we came in front of you. We were able to address that in a letter and explain their questions and answer those. So with that, I think that's the majority of the questions. There might be, oh, I think the only other figure I had next was just the FEMA map. That this just shows that there is a floodway associated with Bennett's Brook, which we know, and that the elevation, the downstream elevation that we were concerned of is 239. But everything that we are installing is at actually elevation 240 above. It's just we have just that small little land disturbance to actually install the riprap. So this is really kind of the area within Ayer that is being impacted. So with that, I'd actually just like to open up to questions and see what you have.
What are you installing here? What is this?
Who's
We're
asking?
gonna, just a minute, please, just a minute. We're gonna open the questions up to commissioners first, and then we will move on to people who are viewing or listening. So questions from commissioners, please.
So did DEP see your response to their comments?
Yes,
And
that we
did
got an email back that they received them and that they would let us know if they had any issues. And we have not received any additional responses back from them.
Okay, could you copy the conservation office with that?
Sure, I thought that you were on that, so I will forward that over.
Thank you.
Any other
Okay, with
questions?
respect to the drainage system that you're installing, so there's nothing that exists there currently, correct?
No, I believe there is a portion of existing drainage because there's a couple catch basins here that have a 12-inch pipe that discharge out there, but there isn't this new line is coming down. That's new.
Okay,
Yeah.
12-inch drain that you just referenced, is that a catch basin already on Willow Road that's picking up water from?
So I can help answer that. There is a set of catch basins at the intersection of Willow Road and Route 2A. And that drain line comes down Willow Road currently. And there is an existing catch basin. Actually, it's just off to the right, just on the right side of this sheet, that catches that drainage as well.
Yeah, this, that one?
Yep,
This
that one right there. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's the town's catch basin. And then there is an existing a second system here that also captures the state's runoff that goes, the state's runoff from the state highway that then discharges to Bennetts Brook.
George or
Okay,
Jen,
and
any
the-
comments?
John, 1 second. So
Yes, go ahead.
to the drain you're planning to install, it just going to an outfall here basically and just across some riprap? Or is there any sort of sediment catch and what have you, contaminant catch?
So there are deep sumps and hoods, but there's no basin or anything that is that it's going to be able to mitigate for. Unfortunately, just due to the tight right of way, the steep slopes kind of located along here, there isn't space to install a basin prior to this discharge. But we are capturing, collecting, and making sure that the catch basins have deep sumps and hoods on them prior to discharge. So they will have about 25% TSS removal prior to discharging.
What was that percentage?
25%.
Okay. Thank you.
You're saying there's nothing we can do with that last drain just before it goes over to the outfall?
Right at this point, no. I mean, there's we're already outside of the right of way right here, and there's a pretty steep slope right here. And obviously, if we were to try to, we're at a certain elevation where we need to daylight. In order to install a stormwater BMP, you're going to be most likely in the wetland or something like that. So it is not feasible in this location.
No ability for land acquisition, widening the right of way by purchasing some additional property to make that happen?
I'm not sure to address that one. I don't know if Tom or Melissa, you want to comment on that?
I think in order to do that, we would have to have that discussion with Mass DOT as they would acquire the right of way. So that is not something that's been considered thus far. But I think, like Danielle said, that would likely result in some wetland impacts as well if we extended that any further. So, but that's something we have to discuss with MassDOT on a final decision.
Anything else, Mark?
John, I have nothing. All right, thanks.
Okay. Jen, do you have any comments?
No comments, but when we go to public, I see Lori has a hand up in case you can't see her.
I can't, but
Okay.
George, you have comments?
No, I don't.
All righty. Yes, comments. Lori, you had your hand up?
Yes, I did. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Couple of things. Based on the questions that especially Mark was asking just now, I don't have the expertise that all of you have, but I have sort of general understanding of this area. We know that it's heavily impacted by the trucks that are coming and going from the auto unloading facility, and the traffic is growing all the time. And we all want to protect Bennetts Brook, knowing that it flows into Speck Pond, and that area is very sensitive knowing that it also is where we get our Spectacle Pond water from, drinking water for half the town. And I can see that we're making efforts to make sure that the water running off of the roadways, especially in the wintertime when there's salt and other sorts of contaminants from the road, are as clean as possible. And so I see that we're addressing that. And so I wanted to go back to what Mark was just asking about, to suggest that we see if we can acquire the land, or I don't have the skills to know if there are other ways that we can further protect this, but I am concerned about contamination of the brook. So that's one question. My second question is more simple, which is you mentioned curbs going along in there, and this is needed work. I understand that. Will the curbs be the kind that critters can walk over, salamanders, frogs, and that sort of thing, so that we're accommodating for the wildlife that may inadvertently get into the roadway? I'm guessing we are, but I just wanted to pose that question. Thank you.
Well, I'll try to take the first one and maybe Tom can take the second one. But with regard to just the brook, understanding, there is a good portion of this project that is within Littleton. We actually are able to install a forebay with an infiltration basin for a portion of the runoff. That is actually in Littleton. So there is a portion of this project that is receiving much higher treatment. And again, that's providing infiltration, which is all going back into providing groundwater recharge for Bennett's Brook. So, and being treated with that as well. So there are other areas of this project, when you look at it as a whole, that is significantly improving what is there today. So there's definitely a significant improvement with regard to water quality to Bennett's Brook from what is under existing conditions. So while we look at this project, and while maybe it can't have a full treatment right at this discharge point, there are other areas, other projects that are significantly increasing the water quality to Bennett's Brook. And in addition, this drainage line with the catch basins, the deep sumps and hoods will also improve what is happening over existing conditions. So that in that retrospect, there will be an improvement to water quality there. With regard to curbs, I believe this is just a standard curb similar to what you would see throughout town with a 6-inch reveal. So I don't think that there's anything specific with regard to lowering that for, I don't know what the requirements are for the critters, but this would be a standard MassDOT 6-inch reveal curb.
I don't know what that means exactly, but I know that there are curves that are 90 degrees and there are curves that are sort of at an angle.
I see what you're saying. Okay, so this, so Tom, correct me if I'm wrong, it's a 6-inch vertical granite curb, is that it?
Right,
So
so
that's
90
a
degrees.
90 degree vertical granite curb.
Is there a reason why that has to be there? Can it be the one that's more friendly to allowing critters to get off the road?
So I will say, one, it's a huge maintenance issue is one of them. It's the curbs that are usually slanted that have an angle are usually bituminous, although there are some slanted granite ones too. But the bituminous ones, I would say we would not recommend, just given the maintenance. They get dug up and hit, and it's a maintenance nightmare to maintain them. I don't know.
Yeah,
Is
that's
there an
correct.
issue to slanting the
Oh, you're breaking up, Mark.
That's how it is in front. I said, with regards to the granite, I know
He is breaking up for me as well, but I believe his question is could we use the
in
sloped
front of
granite curb?
house vision, is that a?
That would be my
do you-
question.
I didn't hear him.
And I believe his question is, could we use a sloped granite curb? And that does not work well when you have a sidewalk right up against, or in this case, a shared use path right up against the roadway. That would lend itself to the vertical granite curb helps keep a car, if it does hit the curb, on the roadway. And it's just typical practice when a sidewalk or path is right up against the roadway, as this is here, or up against the shoulder, that we would have a vertical granite curb.
It's a safety
Is
practice.
a safety issue, yes.
Would it be possible to put the sloping granite curve closer to where Bennett's Brook is, at least at that part? Because certainly there will be critters that come out at that point. So could we compromise?
Right. So to be clear, the shared use path is only proposed on Route 2A, not on Willow Road. So as far as Willow Road's concerned, Willow Road will not be curbed. It will remain uncurbed as it is today.
Oh.
There will be portions closer to the intersection, but those are, I believe, entirely in Littleton, maybe a little bit over the Ayer town line, and not within the 200 riverfront. As we get
Correct. Yes.
past this section here, and all the way, about 200 feet from the intersection, all the way down to Bennett's Brook, that all remains uncurbed as it is today.
So basically from here, this portion, Tom, right? This portion over all the way down to here is all uncurbed.
Correct.
Sorry, we didn't make that clear.
Yep.
Okay. Critter friendly.
And Danielle,
except for cars.
just going back to the drainage issue. You said there's enhancements in the Littleton section that would enhance Bennett Brook, but at the same time, we're the only portion that is a direct impact with regards to wetlands. I guess, can you explain further and show us what you mean?
Sure. Sorry, let me go. I think it's this one. So when you look at it kind of, I can zoom in a little bit. So when I say it enhances, I mean as a watershed area, it does not have a direct discharge. So we have down over here, we are actually able to install a infiltration basin. So I just mean that when you look at the watershed within Bennett's Brook, which is pretty large, anytime we get a chance to infiltrate right back into it, we obviously want to do that. So it does not have a discharge into a direct connection to Bennett's Brook. So that's why there is no mention of it within regards to Ayer or Littleton. But there is just, I just wanted to know within the project, we are providing recharge, we are providing additional water quality for, portion of the roadway down here for, that's still within the larger watershed area.
Okay, thanks. So on that eastern section there, was there a land acquisition acquired there, or was that already part of the right of way that wide at that location?
Some of it's within the existing right of way, but there is a land acquisition there.
Yeah, so I guess that would be something that, maybe we could look at in the area that we're talking about of thought process utilized.
I think the difficulty that here is the elevation that we need to daylight and how close we already are to the existing Bennett's Brook. Over there, we don't have any resources. Like there are no resources. So we are able to provide, infiltrate, to take up a little bit of land to be able to provide stormwater mitigation. Here, you're going to actually impact resources more by providing stormwater mitigation. So I think that's the concern we would have here.
This would be maybe something we could look at and understand better on a site walk.
Yeah, that's just what I was thinking too. Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions from commissioners?
I was just going to point out in terms of the site walk, the snow on Saturday doesn't start maybe until around 11.
So
And-
prior to 11.
Well, if we were to do it this Saturday, if it was possible, otherwise we have no idea the following weekend is Christmas and then the following one is New Year's. And then we have no idea what the
weather's going to be.
what the weather's going to be like or ground cover.
Would it be possible to do a site walk on this coming Saturday?
I could.
I could.
Earlier in the day.
You could, Jen?
Yeah, I could, but
Yeah, I
earlier.
can.
there.
I'm sorry, George. You can make it, George?
Yeah, I can do it.
Okay. Mark?
Yes.
Mark, I think you have to give the thumbs up or thumbs down.
Okay. Is there a representative that could meet us? On
What,
Saturday?
what time were you thinking?
Well, what are we thinking? 9?
Oh,
Oh, I got a thumbs down. What do you want to do, Mark?
8?
8 o'clock.
We do like 15 because Union doesn't open till 8 and I need a coffee.
8:15? Would 8:15 work?
Does that work with the applicants? Somebody from the applicant?
I'm not sure at this moment, but Tom, maybe we can,
Yeah, we can chat. I'm sure we can, if not one of us, Danielle, we can find someone that can cover it.
okay, we will.
We will let you folks know tomorrow morning, first thing, if there is a reason that someone can't make it. So
Okay, all right, very good. And if this does happen on Saturday, where would you like to meet? By the Bennett's Brook area?
Yes, I was just gonna ask, is there an area to be able to kind of pull off near here? Because this is kind of, I guess, the area
Yeah,
review.
You know,
oftentimes I park at the larger truck lot, just right at the corner across from the gas station.
Okay.
And then walk down. Or there's I forget the side road there. There's that development that you could possibly park on.
Is it shown here, Tom? Where?
Yeah, it's just above where it says Bennett's Brook on that figure.
Like here?
Oh, okay.
Oh, right here. Gotcha.
Oh, there's also the parking lot for that building. Yeah, that's could probably do that too.
So is this the propane, the unmanned propane station that we're talking about? I feel like I've been wicked patient,
Oh,
but I just want to
could you-
make sure
could you
that I'm
state your name, please?
understanding. My
Can
name
you
is
state-
Rachel Kozera. And I just wanted to know if, just what the project is about, just because I've been trying to follow the diagram, the different environmental implications that have been highlighted in this presentation, but there hasn't been like this is what we're talking about kind of moment. So I just wanted to make sure that I was, just thinking about the right thing, just so that way I can look back and, just reference and what have you. I just wanted to make sure I understood.
Sure,
So thank you.
it's a roadway improvement project. And as Tom had given a description earlier, the majority of the roadway improvements are in Littleton, but there are some that go into Ayer. So we're focusing tonight the portion that's within Ayer. So it's this portion of the project right here.
Gotcha. I thought that's what it was, but I was like, wait a second, this sounds familiar. So thank you so much for the clarification.
Sure.
Yeah,
Ken.
Mr. You have a minute.
Yes, Mr. Diskin.
So Ken Diskin, 180 Washington Street, resident of Ayer. Could the proponent put the graphic up or the plan up again that shows the outfall?
Yes.
And I'm intrigued by Mark Phillips's concern about potentially getting land. So my question actually is regarding, the way I understand it from your description, this is a new drain line that we're looking at from around the intersection of 2A and Willow Road. Is that right? With a couple of new manholes and drainage manholes installed in it. And then the outfall, near the Bennett's Brook. So if I'm not wrong, you are off the right of way here where the work is located. I understand it's right on, it looks like the manhole is right on the edge of pavement. And the new work seems to be off the right of way, which would put you within the land adjacent. So you must have some authorization already from that landowner, like a mutual agreement that this would work, rather than obtaining any land.
So great question. To clarify, what we show now does require a permanent drainage easement.
Okay.
And I think what Danielle and I were trying to convey, and maybe could have done a better job, is that any of the improvements or additional, say, plunge pool or something like that we may look at will need to require additional right of way that we believe. So it sounds like something the Conservation Commission may want us to at least look at first. But I think that we're just trying to convey that will require additional rights from that property owner. Not that what we're showing here doesn't require any. It does require a permanent drainage easement.
So, Mr. Chairman, one more thing.
Yes, go ahead.
So you haven't shown, so have you demonstrated on this drawing the scope or the size of that easement that you've obtained? Is it just basically the
Yeah.
size of the work that's shown?
If you, sorry, I can zoom in, hold on right here. So this is the right of way right here.
I see. it.
Associated with it. So this dark dash line is the easement line right here.
All right,
This-
that clarifies it, I think, for everybody. Thank you.
Sorry, we weren't clear on that.
And when your notes on there say proposed sediment control barrier, is that referring to your limit of work line made, let's say hay bale, wattle, whatever the silt fence may be right there?
It'd be like a compost filter tube. That's typically MassDOT's standard sediment control barrier is a compost filter tube that would kind of go right around here to protect, the brook downstream from the work that's happening right above it.
I propose that that's much too close for the work to actually happen. If there's any machines involved in the slope you talked about, just seems impractical that it would be that tight. It would probably be closer to the edge of the easement, but just me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ken.
So may I make one quick comment? This is Melissa Lenker from MassDOT. I know we've been talking a lot about this drainage area, and I simply wanted to remind the commission, I don't have the regulations in front of me, but during the site walk, one thing to remember and consider is that I do believe stormwater treatment within a bordering vegetated wetland requires a variance under the Wetlands Protection Act. So I simply wanted to remind the commission that we are somewhat constrained in what we can do in this area.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you very much for your presentation.
Great.
And we will see someone
Yes.
on Saturday at 8:15.
Sounds good. And can I just ask, when is, this is obviously be continued. When is your next hearing?
January 6th.
1 to 6. Okay.
All right, anything else?
Thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Motion to continue the public hearing, notice of intent at Willow Road and Route 2, Mass DOT, Mass DEP file number 100-0-0477 until January 6th,
2022.
I'll move.
2022. Sorry about that.
Oh, no, I'm just being silly.
No. We have a second on that?
Second.
Thank you. Moved by George Bacon, seconded by Mark Phillips. We will do a roll call vote. Jen, how do you vote?
Aye.
George, how do you vote?
Aye.
Jess, how do you vote?
Bye.
Mark, how do you vote?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, passes unanimously. Thank you all so much.
Great. Thank you. Have a good night.
You too. Have a good night, and we'll see you Saturday.
Yeah.
Our next item this evening is the public hearing notice of intent. It's the transmission line right-of-way exploratory soil boring project, New England Power Company, Mass DEP file number 100-0478, and we will open this public hearing under the Wetlands Protection Act and under the Air Wetlands Bylaw. Do we have someone here? Yes, we do. How are you this evening?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm good, Allison. Nice to see you again.
It's nice to see everyone. This is Allison Millman from BSC Group. I'm here on behalf of New England Power to present the K137, L138, and the 337 transmission line right-of-way soil borings project. I've been in front of the commission a couple times now to present New England Power soil boring project. So I will try to keep this brief since I think the commission is pretty familiar with the scope of work. We have 10 soil borings proposed within the town of Ayer. 3 of which are within areas subject to the Conservation Commission jurisdiction. And then additional areas that are at 3 other areas that are located within the 100-foot buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetlands, which are subject to the commission's bylaw only. As you are aware, these are a temporary impact only 4 to 6 inch borehole completed with a small tracked piece of equipment similar to like a John Deere tractor. And the reason that I'm in front of you today is because of the bylaw, and also because we do have one wetland crossing that's required in order to complete some of these soil borings. So if I may, I'd like to share my maps and just kind of present the scope of work to the commission.
Yes, please.
Okay. Okay, so here's the project location, our USGS map, which shows the existing transmission line facilities that run through Ayer. This is the town of Littleton and Spectacle Pond area, and the subject wetlands that need to be crossed in order to complete the work. Zoom out here. And zoom in. Is everybody able to see these maps?
Yes.
Okay, great. So work begins at the existing Sandy Pond substation. We have soil borings all in upland in these areas. This is our first soil boring that's proposed within a 100-foot buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetlands. Our one wetland crossing that's required in order to complete the soil borings is off of Bryan Way. It's about 600 square feet of temporary impact associated with construction matting that's required to gain access to those locations. That's why these upland locations are also under the commission's review. We also have some soil borings proposed within Natural Heritage Endangered Species Program Priority Habitat. I did provide a copy of the notice of intent to the commission, but I want to make it clear that all work will be completed under National Grid's operation and maintenance plan, that they have an agreement with National Grid for work within habitat areas, as well as the fact that exploratory soil borings are specifically exempt under the MESA regulations. But National Grid does commit to adhering to their O&M requirements for completing this work. Here's another location here, structure 9, where we have soil boring proposed within a 100-foot buffer zone to BVW. So this area would be subject to the local bylaw only. And again, at structure 10, subject to the local bylaw only. As you, the commission is aware, like this square around here is the proposed work area. It's a conservative estimate of where equipment may be staged while completing those soil borings. The only impact in this square would be mowing, basically to facilitate equipment access. And then the 1 square foot associated with the soil boring itself. And after the soil boring is completed, the side cast materials will be used to backfill the hole, and the area will be stabilized with straw. And then we'll be monitoring that to make sure that it achieves revegetation and restoration. And at this point, these maps are in Littleton, but I wanted to include those so you saw the proposed access to the areas in Ayer that are off of Great Road through the town of Littleton. We don't have any soil borings proposed in Ayer that are actually within wetland resource areas, within bordering vegetated wetland. So the only temporary impact to BVW is this temporary crossing that's shown here off of Bryan Way. At this point, I can open it up to any questions or comments from the commission.
Comments from commissioners, questions?
What's the eventual purpose of the borings? What are you looking for?
Yeah, so they're subsurface investigations to figure out the depth of competent material that would be required for future maintenance activities associated with structural replacements along the right of way. So a lot of these structures need to be replaced basically to maintain the facilities for the future. So engineering basically needs to know what the subsurface conditions are like in order to figure out how the depth of the pole needs to go in for the replacement activities. So you see like each one of these boring locations is basically adjacent to an existing structure. And that's just because they're looking for future work when they need to actually replace those.
Mhm. When is the work proposed to happen?
The work is proposed to begin in the spring of 2022.
Mhm. And how long do you, I mean, it's not a long process, I don't think, is it?
Not within the town of Ayer, but this encompasses 6 towns. So it's a pretty large linear project for the soil boring activities. I think we're anticipating probably about a year overall for the entire right of way to get completed.
Yep. Any questions, Jen? George? I don't either. Does this warrant a site walk?
This is all in already disturbed and established right of way, right?
That's correct, Jess.
Yep.
For something like this, I don't feel a need to. So,
Agreed.
You okay with that, George? Okay, I don't think it's,
I agree.
okay. So, okay. So motion to approve the notice of intent?
you should probably ask if there's any public input first.
You're right. Yes, you should. Is there any public input?
I have a question. It's Lori.
Hi, Lori.
Hi, Ellison. I was wondering if while you're doing your soil borings, are you also going to be looking for any sort of signs of contamination by PFAS, by arsenic, by whatever coating is used on the for preservation, for preservative on the equipment?
Thanks for your question, Lori. The purpose is basically to just determine the soil qualities as far as the engineering requirements for a pole replacement. These aren't monitoring wells, and in the fact that they will be doing any sort of testing for any kind of contaminants or chemicals. It's really just to extract a core sample that will be sent to a lab to figure out the subsurface, as I said, competent material, like what's necessary for the engineers to be able to make sure they can install a new pole that will meet their requirements as far as loading and competency for maintaining the overhead transmission lines.
If they happen to come across something that they're not expecting, would they follow up with any kind of testing or reporting at least?
Absolutely. I mean, it's best practice if you observe any kind of sheen or smell or signs of contamination that they would need to stop work. And at that point, New England Power would probably hire a consultant, someone who specializes in subsurface contamination, to evaluate the situation.
Thank you. Those are good answers.
You're welcome.
I also have a question. Is there a guarantee that none of this information is going to be used in future town developments within the town of Ayer? Is this exclusively used for the replacement poles of existing structures within the borders you're referring to? Or is there, is this something where you're going to take the samples and decide whether or not that additional structures can be placed on the areas in question?
To clarify, when you ask about development, are you asking about something different than a transmission line facility?
Yeah, actually.
Okay, so New England Power maintains an easement where they don't have owned properties along the right of way. They are withheld in perpetuity for the purposes of electric transmission facilities. So any kind of other alteration would need to be approved through the real estate department. So I don't foresee any reason why this soil boring information would be used for any kind of private development in the town of Ayer.
But can you guarantee that? Is there any restrictions regarding the information that you're collecting about the soil boring? Or is that just because I'm not familiar with the state legislature or local legislature regarding soil collection and the integrity of the land that you're inspecting?
Yep. So what I can say is that the purpose of the soil borings is specifically to replace the existing utility structures on this right of way. There would be no other reasons to share this information with other parties.
But
I hope
you
that
could if
answers.
legally, you could if you wanted to. Or
Mr.
no.
Chair,
It's used, the use is in perpetuity, correct?
The easement is exactly. I
Easement.
mean, yeah.
And I don't know what perpetuity means. And I was going to ask the
Forever.
question, but it came up again. So what does perpetuity mean?
forever.
Forever.
Forever. Okay. So the soil samples will be exclusively used for reconstructing existing, I'm sorry, I don't like
Holes.
things
Perpetuity,
that are already there. You're just making sure that.
perpetuity relates to the easement that the transmission lines will always be there, basically.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you very much.
I think it's out of our scope regardless whether the lines are expanded with capacity, because these lines go across towns. It's
Right.
not specific to air.
Any other questions or comments? All righty. Motion to approve the notice of intent and the transmission line right-of-way exploratory soil boring project, New England Power Company, Mass DEP file number 100-0478.
And we would be making a motion to approve the notice of intent and drafting the order of conditions.
And draft the conditions.
Yeah.
So moved.
Thank you, George. Is there a second?
Second,
Thank you. It was moved by George Bacon, seconded by Jen Amaya. We'll do a roll call vote. Jen, how do you vote?
aye.
George, how do you vote?
Aye.
Jess, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mark, you're abstaining?
I refuse.
Okay, and chair votes aye. Passes. And motion to continue the public hearing. DEP file number 100-0478 until January 6th.
So moved.
We have a second.
Sorry, second,
Thank you. Moved by George Bacon, seconded by Jen Amaya. And Jen, how do you vote?
aye.
George, how do you vote?
Aye.
Jess, how do you vote?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. It passes. Thank you, Allison.
Thank you all. Have a great night.
Yeah, thank you. You too.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, our next item this evening is a discussion and administrative approval of number 4 Shelley Lane, Sean Ives. This is a gentleman who
Did not come tonight.
he didn't come tonight. Okay.
He was not able to, he's not doing this project until sometime in the spring. So what I said to him was that if we agreed to just approve it as an administrative approval, then we would do it. But if we thought it needed more, then I would get back to him and with whatever we decide. And he was fine with that.
Has everyone seen the proposal and the photographs, just the description of what he wants to do? Basically flatten an area. 16 by 12 semicircle and have a little stone wall at the back of it, 20 inches or 24 inches high, and then a retaining structure on the pond side to keep in the pea gravel. And this is roughly 25 feet from Grove Pond. Anyone have any questions or concerns?
I just would, I know Joanne started this as an administrative approval.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if that's appropriate, whether this should be a RDA or we should take a peek at it and see if even that's sufficient, given that it's the proximity and there's some flattening.
I
Okay.
agree. It's a lot for an admin approval.
Yeah.
So maybe we can do a site walk and then let them know if we feel we'd like them to come in with an RDA.
an RDA. That seems like a pretty good idea.
Yeah. So maybe we could try to sneak by on Saturday again while the ground is uncovered.
They seem to be fairly lenient as far as coming on their property. It says they could stop by if they're there or not. So
Yeah.
if they're okay with it or not, I mean, yeah, I don't see why we can't stop by and take a peek.
Okay. Time being of the essence weather-wise, so.
Time being of the essence.
So I'll
We have one-
email.
We have a site walk at 8:15.
Yep.
So 9 o'clock, would that work?
I'd say for that, since we're looking at the Willow Road, I'd say we'd probably be there somewhere between 9 and 9:30.
Between
then
9 and 9:30. So
Hopefully we'll be closer.
let's
to
say 9 o'clock and then.
Yeah.
Okay. All righty.
Flipping along now.
Zipping along.
Yeah.
Next item this evening is a discussion. 7 Mountain View Avenue, Pat Hall. Pat Hall came to us about replacing a retaining wall, wooden retaining wall on her beach area on Sandy Pond, and has decided that she is not going to pursue that and actually wants to take it out and let it go back to the way that it was, just a slope of the shore going down to the pond. And wanted to know if how we felt about that. And so what do you think about that? I know how I feel, but
I'm just gonna say, since I'm an immediate neighbor and a butter, I'm gonna do what I did before, which was stay silent and just take notes.
okay.
I guess, John, the only question I would have is she just gonna leave it or is she gonna take out what's there totally?
She will take out the wooden structures that are there.
So when the sand then possibly does wash away, what is she proposing to do? Is she gonna bring in more sand?
I haven't heard about that. I think she's at a point in her life where she doesn't really want to deal with that. Bringing in sand and getting it down the slope is a lot of work. So she's just thinking that she wants it to go back, and some of the sand will probably go into the shore, but it's sand or into the pond.
And it's probably been going in there for centuries.
Well, right. Yep.
Would there be any concern about when she's actually taking the wood out, if there's anything, if it's other than sand? Does that make sense? Like, should we ask her to put something up when she's doing the actual removal and then everything else can just kind of do what it does?
I can pretty much guarantee you that it's just sand.
Okay, then I'm fine with it.
Everybody
Would
okay?
have to be, would she have to plant any grass or anything on it?
I don't know. I'm not sure why. Why? Just to stabilize it, you mean?
To hold it? Yeah,
Well, I'm,
what's the
I
surrounding area?
don't think
like?
it's something that she would want to do. I mean, it's sort of a cleared beach right now, and we do allow people to maintain their beach. So I don't know. I think it's been that way for a century.
Yeah,
So this came in as an RDA, I thought, correct?
It came in as an RDA, yes.
And we did a negative.
We gave a
disposition
negative determination, yes.
Determination, right, okay. So I George, I don't know what happens to that. Does it get torn up? Does it just go away? I suppose it doesn't really matter, or do we now then ask her to submit one that says, no, I'm taking it out and not doing anything?
no, I mean, just because we've made a determination that it's not covered by the Wetlands Protection Act doesn't mean she has to go forward. So I would say there's no reason she has to formally cancel it.
And I know she's just going to do it by hand, take out whatever structures there are and dispose of it properly. So we can just let her know that it's okay.
Yeah, I'm okay.
I think that's fine.
Me too.
Okay, all right, great. Thank you. We have then our next item this evening, or commission discussions. How are we doing for time, by the way?
We have just over 2 minutes left.
Okay,
Over what?
We have 32 minutes left.
We should be good.
open space. You
And
back
for
with us,
that-
Jess?
For that, we have the chair of the Community Preservation Committee here, Janet Pravadakis.
Hi, Janet.
Hi, John. Hi, everybody. How you guys doing?
Very well. How are you?
I'm doing really good. It's like waiting for the snow to come on Saturday. Yeah. The reason why I wanted to come forward to the Conservation Commission is we had an opportunity, I don't know whether or not if I want to call it that way, of some land that is called the Hudlin property at the end of High Street. Is there a chance I might be able to share a screen?
Yeah.
All right, let's see. And this way here, you can sort of see what we're looking at. Let me share it. The reason why I wanted to bring this up is, again, this property is approximately 7.4 acres, as well as it's got a price value of $1.5 million. It is the property that's located, can you see the map?
Yep.
It's pretty much the property that's located here between Groton Harvard, Central Ave, really at the end of Cambridge Street. The grid line one up here before, above it, that my pointer's there, that was going to be Emily's Way. I think you guys remembered that from back in 2016. But the Hudlin property has been, looked at as it would be great if the town could go ahead and purchase it. Now, one thing that during the October town meeting, questions were asked. It's like, okay, how are we doing with CPC funds, the conservation fund, of looking at open space and, trying to go ahead and purchase it? So one of the things I wanted to come forward to with the commission here is to say, I know that there is a departmental land use meeting that occurs on a monthly basis. When properties like this can come on the market, I don't know whether or not the departments themselves, the individuals, are, discussing it, of saying, is there a way that the town can go ahead and purchase it? We do have funds available. We do have some leverage. Well, this one here right now, there is an agreement that is at the lawyer's office. I don't know whether or not it's all signed purchase and sale. I do know that there is a developer, don't know the name, but they are looking to purchase it. And again, it's at the lawyer's office. So it's, in some ways, it slipped through our fingers. But on the other hand, things aren't cut in stone until they're finally signed, sealed, and delivered. So there's two items where I wanted to discuss. One is, how is the Conservation Commission really talking about using the Conservation Fund and looking for open space? And then the second one is, if this does go to the developer's hands, they do have to come to you, I believe, for certain rules and regulations. The green lines here are land that the town already owns. And if the developer goes ahead and wants to develop this land, it would be great if there was some sort of agreement with the developer of trying to connect this land being owned with this land being owned, so that there can be some sort of path. This is at 0 Cambridge Street. It's pretty much ledge. I know that Parks and Rec and Mark Wetzel had looked at it beforehand. They really can't do anything with it, but it's still nice to keep it as open space. And this here is just like I'm gonna say a pathway that can go ahead and get to it. So those are my two items, is one, looking at open space. How's the commission looking at, other opportunities? And if this does go to a developer, is there anything you guys can do to try to see if we can get that connected? Does that make sense?
It does make sense. Yep. Well, we certainly are looking for properties to purchase. I mean, we have the funds and you guys have the funds, so it would be a great opportunity. But like you say, maybe it slipped through our fingers.
Well, this came up so fast, Janet, when people started circulating about this, and then
This
there's
has actually been since this
Excuse me.
summer that this has been available for purchase.
excuse me, yep. So at least the first that we in the town heard of it, some of us in the town heard of it, was just recently, and did a site walk. Was it, George, you and I were there, it was on the December 5th? At any rate, it seems like there was already discussion going on with the developer before we had a chance to respond, unfortunately.
Yeah, from what I understand, when I saw it about, say, a month ago, there has been discussions, and again, if the developer does, purchase it and goes forward, that's when it's the next step of, is there anything that we can do to try to get an agreement, to put those two pieces of ton of air land, maybe purchasing something, I don't know.
And Janet, you said the stuff that's hashed with the yellow lines, that is already anticipated to be developed, or is that purchasable too?
Not that I know of. I mean, I'll go ahead and go back. That is still owned by the family, I think it's called Field. And with that, that's what they had planned. So this is again the assessor's map. But I haven't heard anything new that's going to be occurring. This was back in 2016, where, again, I don't know if they put it back on the market again, or what they planned on doing. It's still owned by the original owners back from 2016.
You have a comment, Lori? I think you're muted.
Thank you. It's connected directly to this. Yes. The property you're talking about with the yellow hash lines, is owned, I believe, by the MEMS Realty Inc. And that's was partially owned by Jim Lucchesi. Not sure if that's still the case, but it was denied because the area is very steep, would have required a tremendous amount of blasting. The downhill impacts of water, runoff water on the houses on the bottom of Groton Harvard Road would have been very difficult, as well as, I believe, impacts on is that Flanagan's Pond, whatever we call that pond, that part of the pond. So those were all concerns that make this property now pretty much landlocked and probably pretty inexpensive. That could be looked at as a potential property. Yeah, are you able to pull it up there? Field?
Yeah, that's the original owner. That's the one who had first started talking about with
Yeah.
Emily's Way. And the other one is the Men's Realty Trust is the owner too.
Okay. And then, Janet, you mentioned about the green oval shape. That's about 3 acres that was given to the town quite some time ago.
Correct.
Just, I guess it's sort of like northeast of that. You see the 2 little square blocks? Maybe you can get rid of the blue. There we go. Yeah. Yes, that one. So the Safakis family owns a lot of that land that is directly abutting that oval circle. We know Mrs. Safakis, and that oh, excuse me, that's mistaken. It's not that one, it's to the left. Those 3 pieces are part of the Hudlin. Well, actually the 2, I don't know about the one the arrow is on right now, but the 2 pieces, let's see.
Do you want me to click on them or not?
Maybe not, so we can just,
Okay.
are you able to arrow, just kind of point? Janet, are you able to point to the 2 other pieces that are Hudlin property that are going to go? Yeah, those 2 pieces. Those are very valuable properties. And those are going to be tricky because they're at the end of what really is technically High Street, but the nursing home, Neshoba Park, uses that for parking. The end of that, what looks like a street. I mean, it looks like their parking lot, but it's technically not. It's part of High Street. So that will be developed into this new houses if that goes forward. And I think they're going to be, downhill water impacts with that whole Hudlin development, however they figure out to do it. There is a very narrow driveway that goes right out to Groton Harvard Road. You can it's very tiny, but you can see it down there. Anyhow, going back to the Safakis property, Janet, are you able to point to that? The Safakis property. Below that, that's the house she sold. So
that's the house she sold.
There. Yep, that property and the one directly below it, that's like an L shape upside down. Those are both available for sale. Excuse me, those are both available properties. And my understanding is that Bessie Safakis and her sons would have been interested in having the town take ownership to see them not developed. So if you can back off again, Janet, so we can see the whole thing. There we go. My personal opinion is that it would be just lovely and wonderful if we can go forward with what Janet suggested as connecting Groton Harvard Road, that narrow path that the town owns, to the 3 acres, and then also obtain the Safakis property. I believe they would be amenable to talking to the Conservation Commission or, Open Space Commission, however we can connect with them. And their address is on the stuff that you've been clicking on, Janet. So I don't know how, what the right thing is to approach them, but I would definitely be in favor of that and support that in whatever ways I can to see that going forward in terms of trying to get some open space, left as open space that's surrounded by a community, to be able to have places where people can walk to let their kids explore in the woods like we all did when we were kids. So, okay, I'll stop talking now. That's what I wanted to share, but I'd be happy to answer any questions if I can.
Thank you, Laura.
You're welcome.
Question? Yes, Jess.
One, if the Hudlin property, if the deal goes through with that developer, then that would, if they proceeded, that would be a subdivision. A discussion about connecting that narrow green strip to the oval that the town owns. I think that would be a planning board discussion under site plan review. At the same time, John and I talked to the town manager about this, and if we were to learn that deal did fall through, you said it's at the lawyer's office, but one thing we could do tonight would be to do a provisional authorization to do an appraisal if that were to go back on the market. So that, and that would be something that we would just tell Robert. He would get permission from the landowner and he would arrange that. If the town were to look at, say, the Hudlin property, if it were back on the market, we'd have to do a fair market appraisal and a phase 1 environmental review. So I don't know how the rest of the commission would feel about just doing a provisional if it were to come back on the market, to okay that, to try to move very quickly. The second point was, and George, you remember this as well, we did look at the Sefakis property several years ago. And at the time, while it's a lovely woods, we thought, well, on its own, that wouldn't be a great expenditure for conservation funds. But if we were able to get something like the Hudlin property, then it would create a nice large parcel, and then it would be of more interest. So that's where we were a few years ago. I'm not sure how we would think now. That would be up to everybody else to render their opinions.
Can we clarify the $1.2 million that was being thrown around? Like, what property would be purchased for $1.2 million?
Mark, this, hold on, let me.
I can actually clarify because I've done extensive research on the property. So it's almost 8 acres of actual forest. And so within the forest, there's actually an estate from 1935, which is completely decimated. And from personal experience, interacting with the forest and exploring my new town, I've been able to appreciate and understand the full, like, you know, what's going on in Ayer, what are the assets of Ayer. This is the asset of Ayer. I feel as though if we decide to give in to the developers that are, you know, they want to develop 8 acres of land where there are deer, where there are, you know, a biodiversity of every sort of animal that could potentially live within our town lines, in addition to the, you know, whatever else is going on. I understand development, towns change, cities change. I completely appreciate that.
So can we
But
identify the properties, please? That's kind of what I was asking. I don't know which are, so if we got a point on the estate. Is the full 8 acres all the way out to Groton Harvard? Can you give me a size?
You've got, all right, let me, hold
so
on a second.
disrespectful.
I got it, Mr. Chair, when I have a minute.
You got it?
Go ahead, Ken.
So the combination, if you don't mind, John, the combination of the several lots, and it might be 5 or 6 lots, makes about 7.5 to 8 acres of land, including the 2 lots that were pointed out by Ms. Nearing up by the road. So those each plus the other, there's about 5 pieces that go together. They have a tiny amount of frontage on the Groton Harvard Road. It may only be 20 feet wide. Their major frontage is actually off a high street. That green parcel that Janet pointed out is a very strange piece of land, but it happens to be a 40-foot right-of-way, which is owned by the town of Ayer, which would certainly make a perfect road into a development. Would assume that, and I'd just like to remind the commission and the young lady on the phone, that if this were developed, it would be done under the OSRD requirement, which means at least 50% of the land would be left in open space under our new subdivision requirements, and that all steep slopes over a certain amount of percentage, I think it's 20%, would be excluded from that, would add to the open space. So there's quite a bit going on here, but in reality, the market, I guess, will determine if the person's going to pay $1.5 million to buy it. And the Hudlins, I guess, are entitled to ask whatever price they want for the land in America.
Right. Thank you, Ken.
And Rachel, I did not mean to be disrespectful. We have 30 minutes left to cover some other items. I just wanted to get an idea of the property, because I guess my question is, the property with the yellow hashes on was denied to be developed because of it being steep slopes and rock and things like that. Is it literally that much different here? Because I believe the property with the green oval, that's where they just built those condos that they had to blast through all the rock to begin with, correct?
No, Mark,
Front of it.
yeah, that's at the end of Cambridge Street. That's not at the Central. Central would have been down here. This is at the end of Cambridge.
But it is all
right.
bedrock.
But didn't you say that that's rock, I thought?
Yes, it is all bedrock. It's all that whole area is filled with bedrock. It would require a lot of blasting for the most part. There is where the Hudlin house is, you can barely see it. Yeah, there we go. There's a nice flat area where he used to raise garden plants. He had a huge garden, Mr. Hudlin did, and he used to provide fresh vegetables for people who are in the hospital, for the nurses and the doctors, and for the various neighbors. So there's a lovely tradition there. He's got a lot of raised garden beds in there too. And it is a lovely property. There is a lot of wildlife in there. So yes, it would require a lot of blasting, and it's similar to the yellow hash stuff, but I think the yellow hash is even steeper.
It's strange that, excuse me, Mr. Chair, but it is strange, and I ran into this too when I was looking at this years ago. I'm not sure why the assessor is showing that yellow hatched area there. I have no idea. I'd have to ask him.
Yeah.
If in fact it is an old the only thing I can come up with is it was an old subdivision that went through enough to get recorded. So somehow they got some document on it and put it on GIS.
From my understanding from my neighbors, and I apologize for interrupting, I was under the assumption that there was an additional individual that tried to acquire the lands adjacent to Groton Harvard Road, connecting to that piece. But unfortunately, the deal fell through and they didn't move forward with the project. But perhaps that's consequential, situation that happened from that interaction. Sorry.
I'm going to ask Tom Hogan why it's shown that way and figure it out.
I just wanted, realized something which is maybe significant within the yellow hatched area.
The hospital properties there.
Upside down shaped boot. Yeah, that property there.
Owned by Volunteers of America.
Yes, the Volunteers of America now own that. So the back portion of the property, they were going to try to access that on the northern side of the Neshoba Park property. And Neshoba Park purchased, I think it's the whole boot shape, but it's definitely a good portion of that if it's not.
I think it is.
Yeah, he has to update that.
Yeah, there we go. VOA.
The GIS.
Okay.
We have about 12 minutes left in the meeting to finish.
Yep.
I just wanted to bring it to your attention, okay? And as Jess was speaking about whether or not you'd want to do any type of provisional guidance of, possibly if it does fall through, to go ahead and do the appraisal and, then maybe a phase one, just so that we can be one step ahead.
Yeah, I think if we could, if it did go back on the market and we could get something like the Hudlin property, that would be a sizable enough area to try to protect and worth using town funds to try. So I personally would be in favor of provisionally approving moving forward with an appraisal in phase one, were it to come back on the market under the direction of the town manager.
It doesn't seem like there's any harm in doing that, right? It's just more information if it comes back on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, there is a cost associated with that, and
yep.
I guess I'm just challenged by trying to understand the value of property and if it truly could be developed at all or not.
Well, I mean, as we go into the future with housing pressures and less land to develop, things that used to be obstacles eventually become not obstacles, like wetland and buffer zone areas didn't used to be developed, but now as we've run out of other land, that's why we feel so much pressure there. So just because this would require blasting doesn't mean that down the road it might not become vulnerable.
I'll just mention that all of the houses, I think you know I live up in that area as well. All the houses that are behind me, we thought could not be developed because they were on ledge, and they all got developed. And I fully agree with what Jess just said. I believe they will be developed if we don't buy them.
I agree.
Also, there's really, a huge benefit they're finding of having, I think, Laura, you've used that term, tiny forests.
Yes.
But having, scattered bits of undisturbed forest that sort of mitigate sort of the wider effects of, help mitigate climate change.
Climate change, yeah.
And avoiding heat sinks or whatever that term is.
So I don't think there's any harm in going ahead with provisional.
And also too, Chairman, if I can go ahead, and I think Mark is the one who asked, that it does cost. We do have administrative funds and a $20,000, I believe it's 20,000 on CPC funds that can be used for appraisals and things like that. It's already been approved during town meetings so that it's available quickly, that if there was property and we needed to do an appraisal, we have, those types of funds. So CPC or the CPA funds could be used to help offset that cost.
Do you have a sense of how much it would cost?
I don't, no, I mean, I can go ahead and try to get that numbers for you and send it over to Jess, but I don't off the top of my head. I don't know if Ken knows.
I think these opportunities where there's actually a potentially willing seller should be jumped on where it's possible.
I would say also that some of the money could be made back by selling off one or two of those upland properties that we pointed out, the boxes right at the end of High Street. So if it ended up being like more money than we wanted to take on, sell those two pieces and preserve the big one.
Yeah.
That
Hey,
would be
I'm going to interrupt because I think we could just move ahead and take a vote on whether we support a provisional thing or not. We do have a couple other things we have to get through tonight, and we are really running short of time.
Okay.
So I would make a motion that we should the Hudlin property come back on the market, that we approve requesting the town manager to move forward with a property appraisal and a phase 1 review with the permission of the landowner.
Is there a second?
Can we amend that possibly just to include some of the other properties that Lori's?
I think that would
Not for sale.
not for sale, and I think that would add drag to the process if this particular, I think that would add complications right now, but we could move forward if those were to become more available. My own opinion is if the Hudlin property did become available, it would be worth trying to get, and then the Sofakis property would probably be, based on what you've said, Janet, I think said, or Lori said about the owners, that would probably be an easy piece to fall in place after that. But the chances of this coming back on the market probably are not great, but.
Let's try.
Yeah.
So is there a second?
Second.
All right, moved by Jessica Gino, seconded by Jen Maya. Do a roll call vote. Jen, how do you vote?
Aye.
George, how do you vote?
Aye.
Jess, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mark, how do you vote?
Nay.
And chair votes aye. Passes. Alrighty.
And I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thanks for joining us, Janet.
I feel is it okay if I comment about the last situation that happened?
No,
We really are very short of time. at this-
Yes, but like I need to know that the people who are in charge of developing land taken to like they review Zillow and they know that this piece of land has been on the market since midsummer or before midsummer. I think it's like very it's terrifying that this is the first time that this land has been discussed in this capacity. Just
we just learned
because
of it. We just learned of it.
right, but also you have the duty to research specific parcels of land of great capacity and great alteration of the environmental impact within air
I'm sorry. I need to
before they
speak
come
up.
on the market or after they come on the market.
This
It's
is a-
been
this-
countless
excuse me.
months since it's been on the market, which is very frustrating for me because I've seen it on the market and I've wondered where the town of Ayer has been and why haven't they taken the initiative to get this parcel of land, because there are so many animals and so many endangered species of Massachusetts that live within that land. And it's just very scary to me that this is just coming up in this conversation now.
Okay.
So
We're-
this is a
Today.
very hardworking
We're-
committee and you need to let them do their work and you could have brought it to their attention as well. They can't do everything for the town. I'm speaking on behalf of this commission that works really hard and they're all volunteers. So you're the one that needs to step forward and speak to them because
And I
you're
have, but
Okay.
unfortunately,
go
I do
on,
not
and I
have a
think-
voice within this town. So I'm trying to bring it to the attention of the individuals because there's different outlets in which you can research developments or potential developments, especially when the Zillow description says
All right, okay.
developers take
All right.
attention. And
We're-
I'm not trying
we're
to
gonna move
grandstand,
on.
I'm not trying to get on my, but like, this is 8 acres of air
We
town.
understand what it is. We understand.
Apparently not.
And we appreciate your concern and your passion, and we truly do. We're moving on. What else have we got?
Well, we're not going to get to everything else tonight. We'll probably have to discuss the pond year-end report on the ponds at our next meeting.
Yep.
But has everybody had a chance to look at that report?
Yep.
And not to discuss in detail, but I thought it looked very thorough.
I thought so too.
And so there's a question of people comfortable with okaying payment of their last bill for the production of the report.
I would be.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yes, George?
yes.
Okay. The procedure for certificate of vote, or since we can't do the certificate of vote, I was thinking, would people be able to come into town hall between like sometime maybe by Tuesday, or check in a time with me to sign those in person, the permits we've issued?
I can. So
If we're on Tuesday, town hall's open till 6. Would that help Mark and George?
Yeah,
Yeah, whatever, if you're there, during lunch hour, then I
Okay,
do
we'll do that by,
then to just,
yeah, I'll send around an email and people can just sort of let me know when they could come in. A related thing on that is we can also order signature stamps that the select board also uses, and we could get those from JNS Signs. And that would allow, while we're still continuing to meet remotely, which looks like it'll be for quite a while, that would allow whoever's in the office to use the stamp. As long as with each vote that we take, each person is asked for their approval to have the stamp used.
Could we bring the orders on Saturday?
Yes, orders on, or at least the signature page. Yeah, and the other thing then, we could get each of you to sign a blank white sheet of paper with your signature and a black felt pen, and then we could make signature stamps from that. But that's what would be needed, if that was agreeable.
Seems like a way to go.
Okay. And then lastly for today, two questions. One, there's a piece of property, landlocked 3,885 square feet off of Snake Hill Road behind Mark Fermanian's property that he is going to be purchasing. That land is coming out of Chapter 61 protection. It's going to be on the select board's agenda next week. The planning board already voted formally to say no, there was no interest in purchasing that. DPW has no interest in that. Alan Minoyan and Community Development has no interest in that. It's a very small little piece of land, completely landlocked. And we've been asked to take a formal vote as to whether we would be interested in that, because the town has right of first refusal. So, anybody have interest in that?
Behind what address? Yes.
It's off Snake Hill Road. There's a lot that the house was demolished on it, and the property owner wants to erect a new house or a duplex on that. That's gone before the zoning board, and the duplex was denied. But he's adding to the size of that parcel by purchasing this 3,800 square foot land. It's coming out of Chapter 61. So because of that, the town has right of first refusal. So we have to say whether we'd be interested or not.
Okay, but it's off Snake Hill Road, but likely it is.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, Jeff.
maybe I can help Mark. Mr. Fermanian came to the planning board earlier this year, in the last year, added 3,800, roughly 3,800 feet to the back of his lot. He's purchasing it from the neighbor out of 61, Chapter 61. He needed the 3,800 feet to make the lot a buildable compliant lot so he could do work on that property. That's why he did it. So he effectively added a triangle to the back of it. When a piece of property comes out of 61, because of the tax consequences, it has to be given a right of first refusal to all the boards and commissions in town. That's all this is.
Yeah.
With that, I'll walk away.
Thanks, Jeff. I appreciate that. Now I get what you're getting. Okay, I wasn't like hearing what you were saying there, Jess. Okay, now I get it. Okay, I'm good. Thanks.
So I would make a motion to for the Conservation Commission to say they are not interested in this property.
There's a second.
Second.
Okay, motion moved by Jess Gugino, seconded by Jen Amaya. Jen, how do you vote?
Aye.
George, how do you vote?
Aye.
Jess, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mark, how do you vote?
Aye.
Chair votes aye.
And the last thing that we just have to squeak in tonight would be Robert, the town manager, is working with North County Land Trust. They're going back and forth on developing a contract for North County Land Trust to take over monitoring conservation restrictions in town and getting those properly set up. When that contract is in more final form, it'll come before the Conservation Commission for our approval. Robert's hoping that once it's approved, the town could engage North County Land Trust services after the new year. Problem is how to pay for it. And because the new budget for the next fiscal year won't come into effect until July 1st. And John and I raised the question of, is this something, and George, you probably would have the best idea, that we could use the wetland fund for, just to cover an intermediate portion of that contract with North County Land Trust from January or February, whenever, to the end of June this year.
I would say no, because I think the Wetlands Fund is for administration of the Wetlands Protection Act.
Okay. Okay, that's all needed to know.
Anything else?
No, not today. It can wait till January.
Anything else from commissioners? All right, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I'll move.
Second.
Moved by George Bacon, seconded by Mark Phillips. Jen, how do you vote?
Aye.
George, how do you vote?
Aye.
Jess, how do you vote?
I
Mark, how do you vote?
Aye.
Chair votes aye.